It's 319 days to the general elections, and the political climate is getting more polarized by the day. Political actors either playing out a script to gain advantage or build narratives to play mind games. Amid this, there is a growing trust deficit among the people who feel played by those who represent them in government. We've been talking about a series of issues. Now we take on the conversation around what Senator Ibrahim Mantu said and his confession about rigging elections. But he says he's now born again. My partner tonight is a renowned lawyer and civil rights activist. Is a convener of the Civil Society Election Situation Room, Mr. Clement Nwanko in our Abuja studio. And from London is a political analyst, Kayode Okundamisi. Thanks, gentlemen, again for your time. Mr. Nwanko, what do you make of this confession by a former deputy Senate president? He doesn't mince his words, does he? And what exactly, if that kind of person comes out with this kind of statement, what does it mean for our electoral process?
Well, this is nothing new. This has been going on in our electoral process, and that's been part of the work that civil society and election stakeholders have been working on to improve the electoral process. And it's not just one political party. All of the political parties try to find advantage for themselves. It's the same script that they all play out. They put out money for the Electoral Commission officials, they put out money for security, whether it's the police, they put out money for different people. If we look back to elections held even very recently, well, going back to 2015, we did see elections in 2015 postponed. It was first supposed to be on February 14, 2015. It was postponed according to the government then putting pressure on INEC to say that they needed to deal with the security situation in Northeast. And it was postponed to March 28, 2015, ostensibly, of course, to prepare the ruling party at the time to be able to use the money that it has to try to secure victory for itself. More recently, in Edo State, we did see the governorship election in that state postponed by 2 weeks. From our understanding, it was because the government in power in the state hadn't readied itself to get the election in the way that it wanted. In Anambra State recently, we saw the rule of money. So there's a whole lot of attempt and effort being made by all of the political parties. And whether it is Senator Ibrahim Mantu or indeed any other senator or elected official or indeed party official from any of the parties, it would be the same script. And that's why we're looking at the whole issue of electoral reform. How do you minimize the influence of peddlers who want to subvert the process? How do you minimize the influence of money on elections? These are key issues that confront us. So what this tells us really is that our electoral process has its huge challenges. It's still work in progress. We're not there yet, and this country needs to be able to put together some machinery, some mechanism to ensure that we have indeed free, fair, and credible elections in Nigeria. We're not there yet. There's a lot to be done, and I think that Senator Mantu's confessions, in quotes, actually just points out what every politician, whatever the party, does.
Mr. Okundamisi, like Mr. Nwanko just said now, it's not new. A lot of people, including journalists, civil society organization, even the politicians know the way some of these things go. But when a politician comes forward to say, this is how we do it, we bribe these, we'll give money to these and do this and do that, what exactly is a hope? Do you see money played a big role in 2019? Will it happen?
I think, yeah, it's going to play a very massive role. I think Mantu's confession is a welcome development. I think the 2015 election was a better improvement to the elections we've had. Yes, there will be rigging. But I think it's not just our electoral, the rigging takes place on election day. I think the electoral system is rigged from the way it's set up. If you ask yourself, how come up to now, some state governors are yet to conduct local government elections. We're running a democracy that should have federal government, state government, and local government. And in some places, you have sole administrators for as long as the governor stayed there for 8 years. Political parties don't have internal democracies. They impose the chairmen and board members on members for as long as for 4 years for a time in office. There are no internal democracy. You don't use financial reforms whereby there is a limit to the amount you can spend on election. Even the role of the media, we don't regulate the amount of time a media platform can spend on airtime they give to a particular party compared to another party to give them equal airtime. So it's not just the rigging that takes place on the day of the election. Rigging starts from the day they're sworn in, where you can't have independent candidacy. Voters are not educated. They see election day as the day they get their own share of the national cake. So if a politician comes and gives them a bag of rice, that is it. They don't care what takes place. So if we don't take an holistic view of changing the system to democratize it and make it open in the 4-year time and not just on election day, we'll still continue to see rigging. But the introduction of PCC, it's been reduced.
All right, Mr. Clement Nwanko, the Electoral Act amendment seems to have perhaps suffered a setback, considering the fact that the president had rejected some portions of that amendment bill, which went to him. Now, what are your fears? Because we saw the EFCC saying it want to partner with the electoral umpire to stop the exchange of money for votes during the election. But do you think that we are going to go back to the old days, perhaps, or what we've seen in the past with this electoral amendment bill and the setback it's received?
I think the politics has been played with the Electoral Act amendment, and Kaide Gundamisi made the point about the PVC and the need for wholesale electoral reform. I think that's the way to go. The permanent voters card and the introduction of additional electronically motivated devices for use in elections becomes really important. And if we look at the amendments that have been proposed, beyond the contentious issue of sequence of elections, there are several very positive amendments in the law that has been proposed, including making sure that within the legal context it is captured the use of the direct data capture machine, but also the PVCs and all of the electronic components that have been introduced. All of this is going to be thrown away if we don't move to check the politics that is being played. And the politics being played here is the National Assembly feeling that it can muster sufficient numbers to override the veto of the president. The president, of course, being quite firm in his decision not to sign an electoral law that has the order of sequence of the elections rearranged. I think that this is something that both the executive and the legislature needs to sit down and come up with a solution that Nigerians accept. As it is now, both sides are indeed threatening the conduct of free and fair elections in 2019. I know that the National Assembly has the right to pursue the way that it is going, but there are several issues contained in that provision of the law that National Assembly has in its wisdom, and listening to Nigerians passed into law. These are positive things, and I think that the presidency needs to sit down with the National Assembly in order to agree on a law that is convenient for all. But I think that this impasse does not help Nigeria.
All right. That's Mr. Clement Nwanko there, a lawyer, a rights activist. He's the convener of the Civil Society Election and Situation Room, alongside Mr. Kaide Ogundamisi, a political analyst, talking to us from London in the United Kingdom. Gentlemen, many thanks for your time on the program tonight. And also many thanks for you've been watching. Wherever you may be watching, thank you so much for watching. I'm Sean Wakimbale. Bye-bye.